Most of Sonic's cartoons tend to develop an odd cult following years after cancellation. This can be seen, of course, with Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which I reviewed last week, and Sonic Underground, which will come later this week. But of the three original cartoons that took place in the 90s, Sonic the Hedgehog, or SATAM, is the most respected due to its mature themes, dark feel, and dystopic art style. This is DiC animation at its best, and even though it has its moments, SATAM took a step back from pure animated nonsense and made something way better than it should have been. Where to start? The best way for me to cover all bases is to do a list-style video, covering all pros and cons while interjecting my opinions in between. So, let's start with the positives first. Let me get this out of the way from the start. The theme song in this show is nothing short of awesome. And Jim Cummings as Robotnik is fucking terrifying. For a children's show, this guy is truly intimidating, and he gives one of his best performances, let alone the best scary villain performance of any Sonic cartoon and the best performance in the show. Don't get me wrong, Jaleel White, Catherine Sosi, Christine Cavanaugh, they all do great as well. Sally proves as a good foil to Sonic, which helps to counteract Sonic's ego and some of his goofy quirks, and White does his absolute best here as Sonic. This is his best turn as the Blue Blur. His performance isn't perfect, and I'll touch more on that later, but when it's time to get serious, there are moments where he really delivers. The themes in this show range from dark and moody to downright disturbing. I was on the edge of my seat many different times because, well, it's kinda hard to explain. You'll just have to see for yourself.
Sonic, where were you when the brains were handed out? Uncle Chuck, what's going on? Can you hear me? Sonic. Sonic. Come on, Sonic! Sonic, where were you when the brains... Sonic, we need your help! Sonic, can you hear me? Sonic! Sonic, where were you when the brains were handed out? Brains, brains, brains.
Man, I'm sure glad you're here, Uncle Chuck. I missed you big time.
I missed you too, Sonic. I've been dreaming of this since the first day I was roboticized.
You have? But I thought when you were roboticized, you didn't...
Know what was going on? We know everything. We just can't do anything about it.
Never let it be said that these writers didn't challenge their audience. The show does skirt around death, as do many shows in the 90s, by using roboticization. But what's scarier? Death, or losing your free will and being forced to harm those you love without being able to fight it? In fact, the show underwent a change in the second season because the network wanted a more comedy-oriented show and thought the themes were too dark. Pat Allele and Ben Hurst responded by doing a few redraws of certain characters and turning the scare factor up to the max. They basically gave the network the middle finger and told them to shove it up their piss hole. Sadly, I think this might be the reason that the show was cancelled prematurely. They wanted something more friendly, and the writers and directors wouldn't comply. Yes, we saw an ending to the original arc, Robotnik is killed and the Freedom Fighters win, but Uncle Chuck and Bunny are still robots, 90% of the population is still roboticized, and the environment's completely ruined. It was a small victory, but it wasn't enough of one to end on. I've noticed the Sonic cartoons, they tend to be pushed off rather quickly. They're either cancelled early, pushed to an unsavory time slot, or in the case of Sonic Underground, cancelled before they even make it to the States. Seriously, Sonic Underground made its debut in England, and was in syndicated reruns before it even touched down in the US. Sonic Boom was moved to Boomerang, and the English dub of Sonic X drew the shit end of the stick from the start. And I think what pisses me off the most about this is that this show, this challenging show, that was full of relatable characters and topics of loss, dystopia, the ending of friendships, and betrayal, was running around the same time as Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. But this show did worse. It ran 26 episodes and was tossed in the fire in favor of the sugar-coated hollow counterpart running alongside it. I'm sorry, but something about that really pisses me off. Now before I go any further, I do want to touch base on Sonic and Sally's relationship. As I said, Sally is a great foil for Sonic. She keeps him grounded and they complement each other perfectly. I've seen adult cartoons and dramas that have less convincing romances. These two are cute, and you can tell that everyone involved had a lot of love for these two characters. Hell, every character in this cartoon has layers. They aren't perfect, but you can tell they aren't one-dimensional. If I tried to go into detail about each, I'd be here all night, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. This was far more mature than it ever should have been. Now, no show is flawless, so let's focus on the parts that I didn't like. One of the biggest issues is Antoine. He's a stereotyped Frenchman that serves as a bridge for the writers when they don't know how to start drama. Just have him trip and break something or screw up a mission and you're on your way. Dulcie falls into this category of annoying fodder as well, but at least she's helpful. She contributes more. Antoine is supposed to be the comic relief, I think, but it comes across as insensitive every time he has trouble pronouncing English words. I'm not saying this can't work. I mean, look at Ralph from Ed, Edd n Eddy, but it's done so poorly. I will give credit where it's due and say that Antoine is cut mostly from the show come the second season, and is even made fun of by the other characters, showing that everyone behind the scenes realized what a stinker he was. The final issue is gonna make me some enemies, but it can't be helped. I consider this show to be a dramedy, so drama comedy. However, there are moments where the comedy and drama don't mesh very well. A lot of this has to do with unnecessary filler episodes, since they don't continue the main arc, and surprise surprise, some of them revolve around Antoine. Another issue is Jaleel White as Sonic. Yeah, I just said that this is his best turn as Sonic, but there's only so much I love chili dogs and way past cool a guy can take. He can be serious, and he is at times, but sometimes he puts missions in danger and lets his ego endanger those he cares about. In the two-part story, Blast to the Past, which in my opinion is the best of the series, yes, even better than the Doomsday Project, he fucks up the entire timeline because he was thinking of chili dogs. It's not Jaleel White's fault, but at least we know that characters like Antoine are supposed to be hate sinks. We're supposed to dislike them. Sonic shouldn't be acting this way. He holds the entire Resistance Project on his shoulders. He's a father figure to Tails, and if he and Sally end up hooking up, he's the future king of Metropolis. A little maturity is needed. You want a chili dog? Wait until the day is done. Don't fuck your friends over for it. You're supposed to be an authoritative figure. Act like it. Sadly, Sonic is one of the weakest characters in the show. Even Antoine knows when it's time to get serious, and he's even commented and chastised Sonic for not taking important situations as seriously as he should. And that's pretty fucking sad. Regardless of my problems with the show, if you want to go into animation, directing, writing, or anything remotely affiliated with television, you need to watch this. Despite its flaws, despite its clashing comedy and drama, and its occasional animated hiccups, this is a show that is mature, dark, and not afraid to challenge its audience while giving them relatable, three-dimensional characters. There are so many shows nowadays that are just hollow, and only care about the lowest common denominator that they forget what makes the medium so amazing to begin with. All of the episodes are on YouTube right now. If you haven't watched them yet, take a few minutes and check it out. Even if it's not your cup of tea, I'm sure you'll find yourself pleasantly surprised. Well, that's it for this video. This is probably one of the longest ones I've done so far. Stay tuned, later on this week I do plan on reviewing another Sonic cartoon. Now, which one is it? Let me check my notes here. Oh.
Oh no,